Unfiltered. Like you're in another world, like you zoned out. You know what I'm saying?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Unfiltered. I'm your host, Georgii Speakman, and I'm delighted to welcome this week's guest, Dr. Polina Ware, PhD MBA, visionary technology and innovation executive with over 15 years experience transforming the specialty chemicals and advanced materials industry. As the Global Innovation and Technology Director at PPG, Polina leads worldwide research and development transformation across 5 core businesses, from commercialization efforts, driving sustainable innovation and digital and more. She's got many, many accolades to share, but she also happens to be a co-author of mine on the AI Revolution, our best-selling book, internationally best-selling AI book. We became a bestseller in the US, Canada, Germany, and Australia, which is my motherland. And Polina was gracious enough to present this incredible chapter, Harnessing AI's Transformative Power, a New Era of Scientific Innovation. So I just wanted to welcome you to the show today, Polina, flashy little chapter, which we're going to dive into today, and hear from you directly. How do you feel about being, first-time author?
Yes. So first, Georgie, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Looking forward to the discussion today. And yes, first time of being an author like that. I have certainly authored papers and patents and also an encyclopedia chapter on polyurethane chemistry. But first time kind of collaborating with other authors and writing about something I'm really passionate and excited about, which is bringing AI and digital technology to the space of science and chemistry overall.
So I'm very curious, did you have a natural desire to get into the sciences in that particular area, or did it sort of unfold by, another path or some type of default?
It's a great question. In some way, I did have a natural desire, but in many other ways, it kind of unfolded to bring me where I am today. And it was really kind of a lifelong journey of learning and figuring out what am I really good at? Where is my energy when it's in the flow?
Right.
And where can I do my best? I've always been good in math, physics, science, but I chose chemical engineering.
Incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, it was a combination of everything, career progression, learning that I like working with people, liking science overall.
Yeah, I mean, you've been recognized for architecting a $1 billion innovation pipeline, pioneering AI-driven research and development. How have you become sort of so good and talented at what you do? Because I think for many of us, it's a scarier space, but you've truly, truly excelled. What would you attribute some of your successes to so far?
I would say some of it is definitely due to developing kind of like survival strategic skills early on. When I immigrated to US at 17, it was hard. I didn't speak English. I didn't have friends. I had to do well in school because I had no other choice. And not having a safety net really taught me to be a very good strategist and futurist, and also maximizer of my own skills and my own capabilities. And now, as an executive leader, I bring all of that to my work. I maximize talent and capabilities for my team. And I tend to be good at just being a connector of ideas, connector of people, and connector of seemingly unrelated pieces, of whether it's like market or chemistry or technology. And that helps. In many of my places in my career, I took the existing technology with some changes to new markets or new customers on kind of new directionality, and that opened more doors for P&L. But I would say it kind of ties into some of those early life experiences, and also just being curious. And that would be my advice to everybody: just be curious about life,
Right.
technology,
Yeah.
everything around you.
Yes, 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 yes. I touch on curiosity in my chapter, and curiosity runs my life. I'm big on that because that's how we grow, learn, advance ourselves, all the things. So your chapter, more specifically, harnessing AI's transformative power, a new era of scientific innovation. You've given a personal perspective on AI's transformative power. What's your sort of general take for the audience today and anyone who's listening? What is your transformative viewpoints on AI, and how have they influenced your career so far?
In general, with AI, kind of in the more general terms, we're living in the middle of technology revolution that only comes every 10, 15 years
Mm,
historically. But unlike in the past, it is moving and changing and progressing at 10x, maybe
yes,
30x speed. Even when,
100x.
computers, iPhones came
Hmm.
to the market,
Hmm.
the adaptation was slower, even though
Hmm.
it may have felt fast to us. Right now, it's evolving so rapidly, and I believe that if we're not in learning, we're out. And also, we can make decisions on its benefit to society and its dangers to the society too, because there's a reverse side of that too if we don't know it really, really well,
Hmm.
right? So that's general. For science and technology, it's just a huge accelerator. It's accelerator in terms of making digital versions of your chemistries and being able to make many, many experiments and combinations of chemicals in the digital world and only do one or two in a real laboratory space. That's a huge accelerator. Being able to predict,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
right, how material behaves, that's also a huge accelerator. You can skip some of the long-term testing. That's where technology is going. And also just access to knowledge. Think about like ChatGPT for science and technology. It's being able to summarize 100 patents in a few minutes. It's being able to write your own patent much faster. It's being able to look through all of the reports of other scientists in your company. That's really huge for
Mhm.
any technical person.
Mhm. Oh God, I love that. I love that. So, um, in terms of the software that you guys are using in industry, do you mind sharing? I'm just really curious as to what type of software that your programs, platforms, all the rest that you're using to determine these insights and outcomes and results.
Absolutely. So I would say in general within the industry, right now, most models use general machine learning algorithms,
Mm.
but many corporations are moving towards using new technologies such as agentic AI, deep learning, and also physical AI. When you combine agentic AI with
Yes,
some kind of physical characteristics as well, that's kind of very general, but a lot of it actually ties into math and science and first principles and really common languages you can use that people have used before, but now applying it to the chemistry space.
but are there specific platforms that the industry is using? Like, we can say, like in my space, I might use Copy AI or Jasper AI. I use ChatGPT every day. What are the actual specific platforms in your industry that are being utilized? I'm curious to understand, more about the specificities and who is building the platforms. Or is it as basic as ChatGPT?
Well, it depends, right, on what you're doing. If
Mm-hmm.
you're doing like a knowledge navigation and really kind of enriching the access to knowledge, you would use absolutely a search engine
Mm-hmm.
type platform, a
Mm-hmm.
search language similar to ChatGPT. If you're looking to make a model of your chemistry, you would use something, deeper than that, like a type of a coding language. What type of a coding language, it is very specific to a company, and there is a lot of competitive differentiation there. So I can't quite talk about it in an open podcast, but for sure I'm happy to follow up in the Q&A after as well too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And certainly for people listening to this, I would look at industry leaders in this space. Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, IBM, they're all players in that space who are taking up space and also working with big chemical companies like us and many others to help us, right, take steps into AI world in a very
Mm-hmm.
significant way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. I love that. It's just so cute. It's so fascinating to see what different industries are using, what modalities and platforms and all the rest. And, who are the proprietary owners of certain, software solutions or AI platforms in industry. Are they available to the general public? But probably not if they're in such a highly sensitive industry like yours. It's just really incredible to believe that once upon a time, you can imagine a scientist in the lab playing around with different chemicals in a lab suit and doing all the things, but you're really seeing this genuinely shapeshift. How do you feel that that's impacting people's perceptions of the industry in which they work, their own job roles, how they feel about it, how are they doing, adapting? Because that's quite a physical task, and it's like a very tactile engagement. But then now
Yeah.
a lot of efforts are transforming, translating to AI. What are you sort of seeing as some of these shifts or perceptions and feelings around that?
I love this question. It's a great question, Georgie, because the world of chemistry is changing so much. The world
Mm,
I used to know, where early in my career I would go into the lab, wear a lab coat and do experiments at the bench. That world is shifting so much,
yeah.
right? The same level PhD now as when I started out might just sit at his or her desk, right, from home, use AI to plan out experiments, programs a robot who goes and does basic synthesis and troubleshoots and come back, with any kind of questions, and then gets the data on their computer, analyzes the data, and uses AI for design of experiment to map out what are the next assignments and experiments to do. That's far in the future. That's,
Mhm.
a few years in the future, because there are a lot of pieces there, but there's a lot of academic research already that shows that some AI programmed robots can do kind of basic synthesis that typically would require a PhD level
Mhm.
skill. Right now it is more like, a hybrid of both. You might go in a lab, but you might not have a notebook. You might have a headset where you speak the
Mm.
results, and the software records the results and translates it into text and puts it into your electronic notebook. You may have some kind of display in your safety glasses that captures the images
So
for
vision,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Right, and everything is connected. All the lab equipment moving forward, all the analytical equipment, because there's a lot of analysis you have to do once you make your chemistry. All of that, right, is going to become more and more interconnected. So the world is really changing. I would say what it means to all of us for now is that it can really amplify the skill of a scientist. So I would never look at AI as right now, because AI actually is interesting, like ChatGPT. It can do creative things, but it's actually really bad at simple math and simple equations, which is interesting because you would think the more
Yes,
logical task is easier, but not always,
right.
right? And maybe it
Mm.
is because it also has this collagenation ability. But anyhow, I would look at AI for every scientist as a tool, like a calculator that enhances your capabilities, but not something that can, replace you. Because at the end of the day, right, humans need to be there to guide AI, and
Yes, yes.
lots of debate on that. But in science, a long way before you don't need a human scientist. So I would just look at it as amplifier of your capabilities.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I think that right there is the clincher. And funnily enough, a lot of the women that I've interviewed from our book have talked about that, is just the added value as opposed to, and I also touched on it in my chapter, which is how do you eliminate this perception of fear? Like AI is going to take over my
Mhm.
life, my job, we're going to be replaced. But rather, we're becoming producers, strategists, project managers, overseers of the technology, educators, consultants. Whilst we're able to still like level up our skill set in both technology and what we've been doing in our careers for however many years or decades. And
Mhm.
so it's really, I think it's as much of a mentality shift and perspective as it is a practical one. Like there's utilization of AI, but just having that right attitude and perspective towards this, you talk about it, like obviously you literally reference like embracing the scientific revolution. I think it comes down to, are we sort of half glass empty or half glass full type people? Are we going to be leaning into the future or fearing it? But in my opinion, like fear is just a wasted emotion. We all suffer from it at times, but it's a wasted emotion. So like in your day-to-day encounters, how do you manage, do you encounter sort of like the negative viewpoints on AI in your field, in the sciences? And how do you address that in a way that's not sort of threatening or intimidating to peers and colleagues?
Yeah, it's also a good question. I would say within our PPG culture in general, at least I haven't come across too many people that see AI as a threat. There are
Mm-hmm.
certainly people that utilize AI for their day-to-day work and in general all these tools at different levels in the company. But it's also, job and personal preference, many things dependent. But I would like to think that as a corporation, we've done a good job to kind of have this message out that it's not there to replace you.
Yes.
It is there to accelerate
Mm-hmm.
and accelerate development, right?
Mm-hmm.
And make our company more profitable, get the products to our customers faster. Also, we're in a field where we work with some toxic chemicals, and I talked about it in my book. So we, as a company and other chemical companies, we're responsible for delivering safer technologies to the world, which are less hazardous, which are
Mm-hmm.
less cancerous, better for environment, better for all of us. And AI allows us to go faster and to engineer out legacy toxic chemicals faster. That's huge. I feel very good about being able to do that for the world in general. But having said all of that, for sure, right? AI is a consideration to be nervous about, especially if you're early in your career. And you do have to think about not getting into the field where AI can replace you and, be cautious about it. I don't think AI is going to, and there's a lot of research, actually, it's not just me. AI is not necessarily going to take people out of jobs, but it will change the jobs.
It'll
It will
change
change
the
the
job
jobs, and the
ecosystem and
jobs,
landscape.
right? Like the jobs that exist now may not exist 5,
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now, but
Mm-hmm.
we will have other jobs that
Mm-hmm.
don't exist today.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is just like the nature of evolution. Everything's shape shifting and changing all the time. It's like a great saying, the only thing that is real or like change being constant. Like we're always in a constant state of evolution. So as long as people understand that, I think it makes the understanding perception journey and experiences with AI a little softer, but it's still challenging. To your point, you can't be entirely ignorant. Like you have to, don't go into a career that blatantly is going to get wiped out by AI. That would be silly. But that kind of also leads me to a next question. You talk about it quite a lot in your chapter, the intersection of innovation and sustainability. What does sustainability look like in the sciences, in that chemical engineering field? And you talk about, toxicity or toxic chemicals. Share with the audience or listeners today your sort of insights, perspective, experience, in and around that, the sustainability piece.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In a chemical world, sustainability means two key things: using chemicals which are less toxic while delivering the same or similar properties of the materials or chemistries you're developing, and also generating less waste.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. Generating less waste for
Mm-hmm.
our environment, like decreasing your carbon
Mm-hmm.
dioxide emission, for
Mm-hmm.
example,
Mm-hmm.
avoiding chemistries that create microplastics or PFAS, things like that.
Mm-hmm. I know it's so interesting. I mean, we're in a world where how much of toxic waste and pollution and all the things can we ultimately control? And so sometimes we overlook some of these in industries that are dealing with things on a micro but also mass scale, and how that's also impacting lives, people, the environment. So very, very interesting. Do you have any specific thoughts or key takeaways? Because there's a lot of jam-packed, beautiful information in your chapter, and we're not going to be able to get through all of it today, but that you want to share with any listeners today?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I would love to echo your comments, Georgie, that AI is here. It's a technology change, it's an evolution, and we should all, as humans, embrace it and learn about it. If nothing else, than for making better decisions for our future, for our kids' future, if we have kids, because our generation, we're going to be decision makers in where the technology goes and how far it evolves. But in the meantime, I would learn as much as possible and learn it, to make yourself better and more effective at whatever it is you do.
I mean, I love that. I had a conversation with my one of my best friends back in Australia a couple of days ago, and she was like, "Oh, all this bloody AI and bloody technology and bloody social media," and I'm like, "Honey, just there's no point in wasting that energy just thinking negatively about it all. Just work out what space feels safe for you, but you must start your journey as opposed, I mean, because I genuinely believe people will get sort of like left behind, and you've got to lean in and not like sort of steer away. But the quote that I ended up sharing with her, and it's so funny how each of us female co-authors in the book obviously come from very different backgrounds, have very different education, but
Mhm.
we really stand firm on this one, very sort of clear trajectory, which is, my advice to her was, if you're worried about the cost of going for it, you should see the price of staying exactly where you are. Because, yeah, just got to get with the program. And then, so, Paulina, in terms of your experiences writing your chapter, for those that are curious to understand how you decided to approach the chapter in the way that you did, your writing process and things like that, share a little bit about that side of your experiences. It sounds like the majority of your time is spent living in the left brain. Writing is a bit more of a right brain exercise and effort. So what was that experience like for you in totality, and how did you sort of what was your process?
Yeah, a great question. Actually, I may be a bit of an exception, even though I am a scientist. I love writing. I really do.
Beautiful.
This is why in the past I took on this undertaking,
Mhm.
which was also collaboration, but it was like a 300-page book chapter on uracil chemistry for Allman's Encyclopedia, which is one of the kind of biggest
Incredible.
chemical encyclopedias in Europe.
Mhm.
That was a lot, but I like writing, so I didn't mind. This chapter, I deeply enjoyed writing, and actually, I will share a quick personal moment that I really still have and had an inspiration to write a book for immigrant women like me who want to be executives and who want to be really successful in life and career. And I want to write this book, which will be like a bio slash a career advice. But I've been so busy with my role in AI and chemistry that I realized, based on where I am right now, it's just not so sustainable to do it within the next 12 months. And then I stopped, not forever. I just put it on the shelf for
Mhm.
now. I like to think that, like, we don't drop balls ever, like we just put them on the shelf. you know and then I wrote this chapter instead, and I really enjoyed it because it was easier to write a chapter than a full book, and I learned a lot through the process. And in terms of organizing the chapter, I just tried to pick, like, all the key topics which are really hot in the science industry right
Mhm.
now.
um Excuse me. That's crazy, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is my first book, and it's
I
called
love it.
My American Dream, an Australian girl's journey to uncover her version of the American dream, only to be faced with an American reality. So, similarly to yourself, I too obviously am an immigrant and have had my fair share of, uh, highs and lows and challenges. I mean, I was lucky enough to come into the country, knowing and being able to speak English, unlike your journey, which would have added significantly tougher layers on top of that. But similarly to what you want to tackle, this book was with me for well over a decade before I finally sort of got it done. I think I was thinking about it for 15 years before I finally finished it. And I think the timing was perfect. I think I just, and that's why I want to say to you that the timing will come. And then of course it's about routine. It's like without fail, you have to write that book from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every single day, Monday to Friday, in order for you to get it done. Otherwise, just like I was experiencing, it was like in my head, in my heart, in my soul. And I was like, oh my God, when do I get this book out? But thank God, I mean, it just took a long time. It took a long time, but I highly encourage you to do that, because I think sharing our stories, the immigrant's journey, and you've got so much more to layer into that story, is a really important one to share, because everybody's got a really important story and and voice to share, and it all matters. So I'm excited for this next phase and chapter for you. It's really exciting.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing as well. I can't wait to read your book. It's amazing.
It's a little bit provocative. But there it is. So what are you most excited about for the future, just with AI in general and within your respective field? I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're either working towards currently with your job and industry, or just generally what excites you.
I would say, like, in chemical industry, and that includes what we do here at PPG too. I am really excited about AI accelerating developing more sustainable chemistries and materials. It's really important. Actually, I joined PPG because PPG has such a high focus on sustainability. Actually, our mission is to protect and beautify the world. I love that. I love the company whose mission is to protect and beautify the world. And I really believe AI and all those new technologies will help us to go that much more faster on that mission. And that's what I'm personally really excited about. And also, on a personal note, I believe that in the short term, AI will make all of our lives easier.
Yes,
And that's nice too.
I agree. And hopefully alleviating some of these other day-to-day tasks that some of us just get frustrated by. So thank you, Polina, so much for your time today. Thank you for your beautiful chapter. Hopefully your chapter and the entire book will continue to inspire different lives and careers from all over the world. Obviously, I'll share Polina's links in her bio. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment to the channel and this episode. And thank you so much for tuning in, Polina. I just want to wish you all the best in your future writing endeavors and your career in the chemistry space. It's very impressive. Chemistry was my favorite subject, one of my favorite subjects in school, outside of all the English and drama and stuff like that. But I loved chemistry. So I'm like weirdly not envious, but like really admire what you do. I think it's super cool.
Thank you. And thank you for having me as a guest. I super appreciate it and feel really honored to be part of this endeavor with you, but also the other amazing authors too who authored this book.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. And of course, stay unfiltered in your AI journeys and in life in general. And just one last little reminder to go and buy our book, The AI Revolution, Thriving Within Civilization's Next Big Disruption. 34 chapters, 34 global authors, all experts in their respective industries. So go out and get yourself a copy today on Amazon and so on. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Unfiltered.
Like you're in another world, like you zoned out. You know what I'm saying?